Hi, this is Misha, and recently Arms of America listed some expensive but pretty unique and rare parts kits. And actually they listed them the last time we were out shooting, so we didn't notice them until we got back that evening. And they had a very small quantity, but they still had some left. And the owner over there, Andrew, is a really good guy. I was going to email him saying, hey, can I buy one? Because we do buy our stuff. He actually emailed me first because he knows I like Romanian and AKs, and he said, I've got these in, do you want one? They are expensive, but they cost us a lot of money, and we only have a small amount. So it's kind of funny. He got us one sent out, and here we do. Obviously you have a parts kit here. This is a Romanian PM-64 Paratroopers parts set. And what makes it a Paratroopers is the foregrip, which we'll look at in a second, and the folding buttstock. Also, this is a very late production for being a 7.62x39. All of the kits Andrew received and all of the ones of this pattern I've seen in the past are 1989 dated. There are rumors of 1990s, but neither Andrew nor I have seen them in person. So we're going to say they're late 80s. The reason this is pretty much the last is after that they went to the PM-93, which was essentially the same gun in 5.45 by 39. And speaking of the same gun, I have the kit out here. Also on the table, I have my AES-10B Paratrooper. This is something that Century Arms sold a few years ago. Even when Century had them, they said these were rare and that they got these guns from a bunker, their word, not mine, and that they only had a few hundred. Now, you notice this has a foregrip. This is from the kit, but I couldn't wait to get it on my gun. So, yeah, I did that off camera. This is the most desirable part of this kit, and it is serial matching to the kit. In fact, all the numbers we have found on the kit, trunnion, bolt carrier, and the bolt, which is in the bag, dust cover, I think even the recoil spring, perhaps even the rear sight. I don't know if this one's got a number. Nah, it feels smooth. But yeah, all the numbers that have been found on these kits have been matching, and the kits tend to be in what Arms of America calls Cat 2, which is basically condition 2, category 2, which will be very good to very good plus. And you see here there's very little finish wear. Again, I remember Romanian finish isn't the strongest to begin with, but there really shouldn't be any rust, and there definitely shouldn't be any pitting or corrosion, like heavy corrosion. So these seem to be demailed from either unissued or very lightly issued rifles. And it's neat because now we're seeing the parts kit version of what Century had the AES-10B's Paratroopers built from. Well, we like to have any excuse to go take a RPK to the range, so let's run a few rounds to this, and then we'll get back and talk a little bit about the kit and the AES-10B Paratrooper in general. AES-10B. These are always a lot of fun. What these AES-10Bs were, and I've mentioned them in several videos. In fact, Jay and I both owned the same exact rifle. They were built over in Romania. They were basically just like a Wasser 10, so they're a full import. You get an original Romanian receiver, original Romanian cold hammer forged chrome line barrel. Some of them were built from brand new parts, brand new guns. You can tell that by the trunnion date. Others, such as mine here, which has the 89 dated trunnion, were built from original service guns. What they essentially did, they demilled the gun and they put it on a semi-auto only receiver without the third axis pinhole. But this receiver is a correct Romanian 1.5 millimeter heavy duty receiver. It has the bulged trunnion, as you see. And they usually put a brand new barrel in, so people wouldn't complain that the barrel had corrosion. So this is going to have a brand new production Cugir RPK barrel, 23¼ inches long, quite a heavy profile. The further you come back, the heavier it gets, and actually right over the chamber it's quite thick under this handguard. It is chrome lined. It is threaded 14x1. Now you notice on mine I've got a little bird cage. This is a Romanian bird cage. This is a little bit of an affectation. Usually, like with this kit, that was a cat. Usually with this kit, not cat, they have a simple muzzle nut. But you know, muzzle nuts are sometimes boring. I had a spare Romanian bird cage, so I put it on. I think it looks neat, and this would be what you would find on the 545 PM-93. So again, and who's to say that they wouldn't just screw them on in the field? This rifle, along with this kit, you can see it here, has a pretty unique bipod to Romania. The legs are adjustable with wing nuts. This is pretty well closed in, but not all the way. This is maybe a third extended. It actually goes quite tall. That's nice because it means your mags, even extended ones like this RPK mag here, won't monopod, and gives plenty of room to get a drum in. Also, on a standard RPK, you just have this mount behind the sight base. This has a different style. It has a screw and a nut, and AK Blue and I were discussing what this is for. Some people have thought this is to mount it. I don't think so, because the positions will change just depending how the screw is. Now, usually this is staked in place, but it's not staked that heavily. You can easily undo it with a couple of screwdrivers through the holes. So, but it is staked in place, so it's obviously not meant to be taken off regularly. But I think this was put on so that a unit armorer could easily replace the bipod if it were damaged or worn out. Probably because they went to these adjustable feet, they were worried about them wearing out. Either way, that's unique to the Romanian guns. I've also wondered if maybe that was removable for paratroopers, so they could take the bipod off the gun, you know, stow it like this in a pouch. And this is nearly a pound, so you're taking weight and bulk off a gun. Just a thought. One other interesting feature of the Paratrooper you'll see in both the kit and this rifle. If you look here at the handguard retainer, it has this extension, this tube, or as I like to call it, the nipple. Why is this here? We really don't know, but we've been speculating on the AK files. It seems to either be a rest for the base of the bipod feet, a support for the cleaning rod, just so it can't be torqued, which actually I like that idea. It gives a little more strength. And also, if your cleaning rod were lost, it gives you something, kind of a secondary place to clamp your bipod to. Now, if you try to fold this up and clamp it on, it tends to be a very tight fit and put a lot of tension on your spring clip. So it'll work, but I don't like doing that myself, so caveat emptor there. Otherwise, these guns have typical RPK rear sights with elevation adjustment and also windage. You'll also find these rear sights on guns like the RH-10 and the M+M M10. Guns such as this have the smooth top cover, which is about 50% thicker than a standard AKM. It's worth pointing out that Romania, like Russia in the beginning, used a rib top cover. They also used a standard bipod and a standard handguard retainer, and like Russia, originally they used a dimpled magwell receiver. Russia switched away from these features in the 60s. Romania seems to have transitioned somewhere between 74 and 77 to the features you see here, namely the dimpleless magwell. What they did, because this is already reinforced heavy-duty stamping for the receiver, they just welded some plates inside to make sure it was strong. A lot of people think the dimples are there to prevent mag wobble. This isn't really true. They're there to reinforce the steel because there's no rivets in this general area. So it's just to make sure the receiver won't bend or buckle in that area. If it prevents mag wobble, it's just a side effect. Finally, we get to the folding stock, which at first glance might appear to be a standard Romanian stock. Now, it is the push button design, not the lever. Folds to the right side. Easily clears the handle. The parts kit has the same stock with it. You can see here, wherever I put it. Yeah, here it is. Same stock. But for the RPK, there are a few differences. For one, the block that goes into the receiver is a little different shape, a little slimmer to fit the 1.5 stamped receiver. For another, it's thicker, especially here. If you notice, there's a step. So this piece there is thicker here. The arm is also a smidgen thicker, as is the loop. Now when you get to the butt plate, it's about the same. So they just reinforced the stock a little bit. I'm going to say 20% thicker here, maybe more like 50% thicker in the front. That's just so when it was dropped or something, it wouldn't buckle, because this is a relatively heavy gun. Of course, they have the Bakelite type pistol grip, unique to Romania, with the concave checkering. This one's more of a reddish Bakelite. I think the one with this kit is a more subdued color. And of course, again, the foregrip. This is the most unique piece for this kit and the one that people are really wanting. Why is that? Well, when Century imported these guns, they shipped them with this forearm, which is essentially the same, but it has the dong cut off. Very nicely done. It's not at all obvious. I've seen some when I was selling these that had more of a hump here, you could tell. Not 100% sure why they did this. It could have been for import because the ATF doesn't like foregrips, but since they had to remanufacture the AES-10B Paratrooper in the US, namely the folding stock and the bipod, they could have easily put the dong handguard on at the time. I suspect maybe they were concerned about end user complaints, because while we as AK collectors really like weird things like this, the general public may not. The dong is kind of a unique thing. Also, it makes mag insertions, especially with the extended mags, not so much with the drums, but it makes it more cumbersome. So they may have just done it to not have customer complaints. It's also possible that some of their guns, some of their kits had beat up foregrips, because these get beat up very quickly. But that's the most unique part of the kit, and something that people have been asking Arms of America to sell separately. Unfortunately, they can't. They only have about 100 kits. And again, as I said at the beginning, the forearms are serialized to the kits. They just don't have any spares, guys. And if they took them out of the kits, they would have kits without forearms, and they wouldn't sell. When Century did the AES-10B Paratrooper, they were expensive. They retailed many years ago for $8.99. Now, you could find them on sale for less, but that was the original price. That was with the gun, 2 mags, so on. At the same time, the fixed-stocked AES-10Bs were more like $5.99, so they were significantly higher. Century's reasoning was the original rifles these were assembled from were hard to get. It was a small batch. They said they only had a few hundred, which seems to be true, because once these paratroopers sold out, they were gone. And that was it. I think the last ones I saw were about 2011, 2012, at least new from Century. I know you could find them afterwards on the used market, sure, but they weren't around for that long until the Arms of America kits came in. Again, these also are 89 dated. They have all of the same features. and they only obtained 100. Now, before doing this video, I called up Andrew and bugged him and asked, hey, what can you tell me about these? What do you know? This is what he said. He said their buyer in Romania, the guy that kind of scouts out stuff for them, found these. He only had 100, and he approached them saying, you need to buy these. They're hard to get. They didn't make many. It's a very rare model even over in Romania, and they're expensive. Well, only 100, so they gambled. These retail for $7.99, the kits. So about $100 less than these rifles went for a few years ago. Not really bad considering take a kit, get a receiver, get a barrel, put it together. You know, you can get into the gun for probably $1,200, $1,400 depending on who you have build it. Not a bad price for a unique RPK in 2019. That said, I'm a huge sucker for RPKs, so I am biased, fully admit this. It is what it is, guys. He's only got those kits. I talked with him a few days ago. He had sold about 30 or 40, so they're nearly half sold already, and they've only been out a couple of weeks. I don't expect him to be around for long. Andrew sincerely regrets he doesn't have extra forearms. If he did, he would love to sell them, but he just doesn't. So the guy's a collector. I've known him for a number of years. He's a really nice guy, and he loves pretty much any of the kits you see that Arms of America has. Andrew probably has kept a couple of them for himself. I know this because I'm bugging him to sell me a couple of his rare kits that he's got in his own stash. I'll wear him down one day. But I thought this was worth mentioning. I think the kits are in good shape. I think they'll build up very nice. They were nicely demilled. You don't have a bunch of barrel junk you have to get out. They were, you see here, very nicely cut up. So they go together. Everything's here. You get the rare forearm, and honestly the buttstock is equally rare because it's special to this. And the bipod is not a very common unit either. Most RPK bipods are the Russian standard, including like the Yugo ones. Heck, even RPK cleaning rods, which this does come with, God, these things are long, are getting hard to find. And usually when you find them, they're halfway bent to hell and back because of how long and skinny they are. I just thought it was something new on the market, guys. SHOT Show was pretty underwhelming this year, so anything new to talk about. And honestly, any excuse we have to shoot our AES-10Bs, why the heck not? It's a really neat gun. And if you don't want to do one of the paratroopers, Arms of America still has standard fixed stocks kits in. They're not quite in this nice of condition. They're more of the battlefield-y type, but they're around $400. They're about half the price. So same basic gun, but not as nice condition. May not be 100% matching, but still a Romanian gun. And if you're not a do-it-yourselfer, I believe they may be sold out right now, but they're probably making more. Atlantic Firearms had some of their PM-64 rifles built from the battlefield pickup kits, and they were around $950, I think. Sorry, I don't know, but I know I saw them on their site. So if you're not one to do it yourself, Atlantic is a company you can trust. They are using chrome line barrels from Green Mountain, and they're using Morrissey receivers on those. So, you know, not a bad alternative if you want that. Again, if you haven't ever owned an RPK, you should really try one out. They are a blast. When you do, though, make sure you pick up some of the extended RPK stick mags or maybe drums, because this kind of thing comes and goes very quickly, and when they're gone, they get pretty pricey for the extended critters. Alrighty, folks. Well, that's about all I can ramble on this and the kit. Check it out if you're interested, and if you haven't, we've got videos on Romanian AK history, RPK history, so if you'd like to hear more about that, there you go. We really appreciate you tuning in. Any questions, comments, please, we very much welcome them below. If you could, like, share, subscribe, and if you really feel like being generous, check out the link to our Patreon page. This is Misha, hauling a heavy critter. And we will catch you very soon. next time. AES-10B. Wolverines. I wanted to mention, forgot another part, this comes with a carry handle. A lot of the kits won't, because this was more of a feature of the PM-93, but you see it on some of these too, so just wanted to talk about the carry handle for a second.